it's me, Expert Terminal, and I thought I'd go over today one of the most widely asked questions in the Call of Duty Mobile community. I've been seeing a lot of you guys ask this particular question, and I felt the need to answer it. And that question is, what kind of controller should I get for my phone to play Call of Duty Mobile? And that's a pretty valid question because there's a variety of options out there that you could definitely choose from, and there's definitely a variety of devices that people play on, whether it's tablets, phones. But I thought I'd try to break it down for you guys on what I think the best options are, or what the most feasible options are, and which device would be best for you. So right now there are two types of controllers that are widely used in the Call of Duty Mobile community: Bluetooth controllers and mobile triggers. So we're going to be going over what the pros and cons are of each one and which one would be best for you. First off, let's talk about wireless controllers. This one is very widely used within the Call of Duty Mobile community, mainly because it's basically the closest way you can get to playing the console version of COD Mobile without having to invest in the console and all that stuff. It's very convenient, and it feels very much like the real thing that you would be playing on the console. But there are several things that we need to talk about as to what the pros and cons are of that, and what separates itself from using something like these triggers. And we'll be talking about this later on. So the cool thing about using a Bluetooth controller like an Xbox and PS4 controller, and I'm gonna have a list of the compatible controllers for each operating system right here on the screen. Feel free to pause it so that way you guys can read over it. But anyway, we're going to be going over the pros and cons of using an Xbox controller, and well, not just Xbox, but like just Bluetooth controls in general. We're going to be talking about like the pros and cons, what could possibly be a deal breaker for you if you decide to go the Bluetooth controller route. So one of the biggest pros is that it feels just like the real Call of Duty console game. It feels like you're playing on Xbox or PlayStation or whatever system you play on. It feels just that way. And I'm gonna have a link to a video where you can have your sensitivity settings as close as to feeling like the real console as possible. I'm gonna link it in the description right below, or I'm gonna put in the suggested in the annotation up here. It's pretty much very similar to the console version if you get your sensitivities right and you have your aim assist on, blah blah blah, all that stuff. And because you have all these face buttons and everything like that, it's gonna feel, you're gonna have that type of flexibility to where you can slide jump, all that, so you can be very mobile and you can be very agile. And it just feels very natural to just play this on instead of having to learn like claw and all that, which in the long run is going to be very bad for your hands, because this is not a natural position for your hands to be playing in. It's more so like this. But anyway, that's going to lead into my next point about triggers. One of the biggest drawbacks though is it may seem pretty good, but then at the same time though, there is also a drawback to it. That is, you get paired up with other controller players in the lobbies rather than you going up against other touchscreen players, nor will they ever cross paths unless someone in your lobby is playing touchscreen or PC or whichever. Then of course it goes into a cross-play lobby. Your queue times are going to be a lot longer, and yeah, don't even think about trying to get into a ranked, because you're not going to get into a game. When you usually play regular pub games, if the lobby doesn't fill up within a certain amount of seconds based on like your location, your internet connection, all that, your lobby is just going to get filled with bots. And with that, yeah, it's going to make grinding combos easier, but if you're trying to crave for the challenge of fighting other controller players, yeah, I'm sorry, you're not. It's going to be hard to get that unless you're playing Battle Royale, in which Battle Royale actually has a lot of controller players. So if you're looking for that kind of challenge, I would look into Battle Royale, or if you're mainly a multiplayer player, you can probably find a scrim on Discord and see which other controller teams are fighting who, and then you guys can do that. Yeah. But when it comes to public games though, playing pubs, you're mostly gonna be finding like you're probably gonna have some sweaty people on controller, on Bluetooth controller. But when you're trying to play ranked, you can only play so much of ranked. I think, like, based on my experience, after you reach Elite 4 or Elite 5, that's when nobody plays controller on rank. That's when it falls off. Because from Rookie 1 to Elite 1 is where you're mostly going to be fighting bots. So your lobbies are mostly going to be bots, or unless you can queue into a real game. But most of the time, like, you'll mostly get bot lobbies, just like regular public games. Another major drawback is the input latency, especially when it comes to certain actions like drop shotting. The input lag isn't as on par like the consoles 1-to-1. There is a very slight delay in terms of button inputs and doing things like drop shots. Like, usually on the console, you would hold down your crouch button like this, and then you would just drop within like a second or so. I'm gonna have like a little video of that here on this screen right now, but yeah, showing the comparison. But pretty much there's gonna be slight delays in your actions, so even though you're gonna be quick to move around, it's not gonna be a 1-to-1 experience, really. It doesn't get that much closer than that, honestly, but it still feels like it. But there's still gonna be some touchscreen players that can drop controller players because of the instance of input lag and latency. And then when you move the sticks around, you're not as precise, so you really have to worry about relying on the aim assist, as the dead zones are higher than that of a console, and you can't change that in game. Not like the console Call of Duty, where you can actually change dead zones and figure out how sensitive you want your thumbsticks to be in terms of like very small, minute adjustments. And another con for these is that Bluetooth controls in general are pretty pricey in comparison to triggers. But I'll talk about prices of triggers when I get to talking about triggers. But these mainly run for like $60 on average. $50 if you were to buy like a SteelSeries Nimbus or SteelSeries Strauss, which is also compatible. And don't get me started into SCUF controllers. They are compatible, but those things will run for double the price of a stock Xbox or PS4 controller, which is on the compatibility list. But yeah, the next thing we're gonna talk about are these right here. Triggers, or trigger controllers, mobile claw controllers. So these things work a little bit differently. These do not connect Bluetooth. These are haptic. This is like a haptic device to make the screen touches, the touch screen like touches, very responsive. And how this would work is that you would remap your HUD to have these pads touch the screen, so that way it will touch that part. So each little thing right here, each little paddle, each little trigger thing here corresponds to these trigger buttons right here. So like, for example, these two would correspond to these triggers right here. So you can map these to anything you want according to the HUD. And so like normally how I would have it when I use these on my phone is I would have these back buttons here to be like for jumping and sliding, and then these ones for like shooting and aiming, just like how I would have it if I had like a SCUF controller, which is going back to what I was saying about like having a more ergonomic way of playing. So pretty much like, yeah, you would just be using these instead of having to like put your hands like this and then like touching the screen, and then or maybe even having like more fingers like this. And it at the end of the day, like that's gonna make it could possibly make your hands more cramped. So that's why some people would really like these. The thing is that the controversy with these is that it makes that style of play that much easier to get into, and it becomes sort of a pay-to-play type of ordeal. And so that's kind of like what puts people off about these, but I'm not really gonna get into that. I'm just here to tell you guys what the pros and cons of using triggers are. You can also get these as standalone as well, and you don't even have to have this grip, but I prefer to have the grip because this is the most ergonomic solution for me. So like this would spread out. You'd put your phone on here. I can't show you because I'm using my phone to record this, but you would put your phone in here, you would spread this out, and then you would flip up these triggers, and then from there you would do the mapping, and then you would flip these down, and then there you go. You're gonna go to town. And what's cool is that this has a fan in it. I can't really open the fan right now, turn on the fan because the battery died. I'm gonna have to charge it, but it blows air into the back of your phone, so that way it cools it a little bit. It doesn't really make like that big of a difference in terms of like heat, making sure your phone doesn't overheat, I guess. It works best when you like plug it in through this USB thing right here. I don't know if my camera can focus on that, but yeah, there's like a little USB port right there. When you do turn it on, it ramps the fan speed to like max power. But anyway though, the two biggest advantages of using this over a Bluetooth controller, number one is the responsiveness. Because everything is a haptic and everything uses the touchscreen and doesn't have to emulate it through this and then going through the whole Bluetooth input latency, the whole inherent lag that happens with using a controller, is that everything happens on the screen. It emulates your fingers. So pretty much these are super responsive in terms of, you know, like responsiveness of doing certain actions, and you can map it to whatever. As opposed to using a Bluetooth controller, you're limited to what the in-game controls are for the controller. So you can't map this to be something else. You can't map this to be something else. You can't do like everything. You just can't. You literally can't. You're limited to what the game does. Though if you are on iOS, you can, and you're on iOS 13. iOS 14. Yeah, if you're on iOS 14, you can actually remap these buttons to do other stuff through iOS's game controller settings, but that's a whole different ordeal. But that's gonna mess up other controls for other games. You can't set a profile specific to COD Mobile. But this one, you're very flexible in terms of how you can map the buttons and everything. And because it's all haptics, and there's no pairing, it bypasses the Bluetooth controller anti-cheat. So it puts you against other people who are using touchscreen, whether they are playing with thumbs, triggers, or claw, either or, because the game's metadata does not detect this, because this is not connected to anything. It is completely independent. You just hook up your phone to this thing and then you just go to town. But that's one of the biggest advantages, is that, well, you don't have to, you can actually play ranked with this and destroy and ranked and everything like that. Yeah, I know that sounds, it kind of sounds, we're already reaching a gray area over here, but the accessibility is what draws people in to want to get these. And these are really good if you have problems with your hands, especially if like you can't learn claw, because like this would like trigger your arthritis or something like that. But the second biggest advantage is the price. Okay, the price for these things in comparison to an Xbox controller is that these things are dirt cheap. They're stupidly cheap. Like, I can't, this thing right here, you would probably think, oh man, this trigger thing right here, oh, it would cost you like maybe $40-50. No, I bought this for $20 on Amazon. Has a fan and all of that. You can go cheaper than that too. You can probably get one for like 10 to 15 bucks, but the quality of them is not that good. And then like these little pad things on the cheaper models, they're probably gonna fall off quicker, or maybe the mechanisms are gonna be faulty, or they just can't touch your screen. But for 20 bucks, for 20 bucks versus 60, it's a pretty big price difference considering which of the options that you considering the options you have for mobile devices. But considering all that we were talking about the advantages this has over this, which one should you really buy though? Honestly, it depends, because there's a variety of different factors in terms of what you actually want from your mobile gaming setup, from your Call of Duty Mobile setup. Is it really that big of a deal breaker for you to not be able to play ranked and to deal with some of the input delay and other disadvantages that I was talking about in using a Bluetooth controller for you to have the classic experience, to have the experience that you feel is like made for this game? Then okay, that's fine. Some people are like that, and for me, I mostly play Battle Royale anyway with this controller, so for me to want to grind ranked multiplayer, it doesn't off-put me as much, though it would be nice if I could actually play ranked MP with this. That would be really cool, but the game's matchmaking just doesn't allow it, and so that doesn't throw me off like as much. I do enjoy using these though. This is really good for if I'm on the go or something and I don't get to bring my tablet or anything like that. But who I feel this is really for are people who use tablets to play the game. This is my Galaxy Tab S6 Lite. I use this to play my game. This is what I also use to stream as well. This is how I stream my game to you guys. I use like some software to screen capture and all that stuff, and then so I would use this because I don't have triggers for tablets. They do actually make triggers for tablets as well. I'll have a link to that in the description. I don't have them with me. Actually, I do have these right here. I do have triggers for tablets, but they're not as good as I thought they would be. Mainly because they're not quad paddles, and I got so used to using quad paddles. But these are also triggers for tablets. They work the same way, except they attach to the sides of the tablet, and then it's the same concept, except it's for a tablet. So this is something to also look into if you're a tablet player and you want to grind that out. But for me, I prefer to use this for the tablet, and I prefer to use this for the phone. Oh shoot. Uh-oh. They make these for tablets as well. You can also look into getting triggers for your tablets if you want to go that route. If you like playing on a tablet, you like using the bigger screen, they also do make tablet triggers as well. They'll have like certain features such as like turbo, macros, and stuff like that, but that's a bannable offense. It breaks terms of service, so do that at your own risk. But anyway, that does it for some of the pros and cons of each. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what kind of controller you're going to be thinking of getting. I hope this video helped you guys out in choosing between a Bluetooth controller or using triggers for your device. And if you guys like this video, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow. I'm also live on Facebook every Monday and Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But other than that, guys, I hope you guys have an awesome day and have fun with your new devices. See ya.